Egypt is one of those countries whose name carries more than geography. It evokes pyramids, pharaohs, desert landscapes, ancient temples, bustling cities, and the long green ribbon of the Nile. Officially called the Arab Republic of Egypt, the country sits at a rare crossroads, mostly in northeastern Africa, but also stretching into southwestern Asia through the Sinai Peninsula. This position has made Egypt a bridge between continents, a gate between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, and a strategic center for trade, religion, migration, and empire. Today, with more than 107 million people, Egypt is the most populous country in the Arab world, the third most populous in Africa, and one of the largest nations by population on Earth. But to understand Egypt, you have to begin with the contrast at its heart, a vast desert country sustained by one of the most important rivers in human history. Geographically, Egypt is defined by borders, seas, and passageways. To the north lies the Mediterranean Sea, connecting Egypt to southern Europe and the wider Mediterranean world. To the east are the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aqaba, opening routes toward Arabia and the Indian Ocean. To the northeast, Egypt borders Palestine and Israel, to the south, Sudan and the Sahara, and to the west, Libya. The Sinai Peninsula is especially important because it links Africa and Asia while standing near some of the region's most sensitive political and religious landscapes. Most of Egypt is desert, but the Nile Valley and Nile Delta form a fertile corridor where the majority of the population lives. This simple geographic fact explains much of Egypt's history. Whoever controls the Nile controls food, movement, cities, and political power. The Nile is not just a river in Egypt, it is the foundation of Egyptian civilization. Long before modern borders existed, communities along the Nile Delta and Valley developed agriculture, permanent settlements, and systems of organization. Egypt's heritage reaches back to the 6th to 4th millennia BCE, making it one of the longest continuous historical landscapes in the world. The annual flooding of the Nile once deposited rich soil onto the land, allowing farmers to grow crops in an otherwise dry region. Over time, this agricultural stability supported larger populations, specialized labor, taxation, religious institutions, and central government. In other words, the Nile made complexity possible. Ancient Egypt became one of humanity's great cradles of civilization because its environment rewarded coordination, planning, and state power on a massive scale. Ancient Egypt is remembered for monuments, but its deeper significance lies in the systems behind them. The civilization saw early developments in writing, agriculture, urbanization, organized religion, and centralized rule. Hieroglyphic writing was not merely decorative, it helped administer resources, record rituals, legitimize kingship, and preserve memory. The pharaoh was both ruler and sacred figure, linking political authority with cosmic order. Temples, tombs, and pyramids were not random acts of grandeur. They reflected a society capable of organizing labor, extracting resources, and expressing beliefs about death, rebirth, and divine power through architecture. For nearly 3 millennia, pharaonic rule shaped the region's identity. Even after later empires arrived, ancient Egypt remained a reference point for power, mystery, and cultural achievement across the world. Beginning in the 6th century BCE, Egypt increasingly came under foreign rule, a pattern that would repeat in different forms for centuries. Persians, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, Arabs, Ottomans, and Europeans all left marks on the country. One of the most important turning points came with Alexandria, founded in the Mediterranean world and later famous as a center of global knowledge. Its library became a symbol of scholarship, translation, and intellectual exchange, even if much about its history is debated. Egypt also became an early and important center of Christianity, particularly in the form of the Coptic tradition, which remains a key part of Egyptian identity today. Later, from the 7th century onward, Islam spread through Egypt, reshaping language, law, culture, and political connections with the wider Arab and Muslim worlds. Cairo's rise added another layer to Egypt's importance. In the 10th century, Cairo became the capital of the Fatimid Caliphate, and in the 13th century it became central to the Mamluk Sultanate. These periods made Egypt a major power in the Islamic world, linking North Africa, the Levant, the Red Sea, and the Mediterranean. Cairo grew into a city of mosques, markets, scholarship, and administration. It was not just a capital, it was a cultural engine. Meanwhile, Egypt's location made it valuable to larger empires. In 1517, it became part of the Ottoman Empire. Yet local power remained important, and in the 19th century Muhammad Ali began building a more modern Egyptian state, eventually leading to an autonomous Khedivate in 1867. This era introduced military reform, administrative change, and new economic ambitions. Modern Egypt was shaped heavily by European imperial pressure, especially British influence. Egypt and Sudan came under British occupation, driven in large part by strategic interests. The Suez Canal, opened in the 19th century, transformed Egypt's global significance by creating a faster maritime route between Europe and Asia. Control over Egypt meant influence over one of the world's most important trade arteries. Egypt gained independence in 1922 as a monarchy, but independence did not instantly erase foreign influence or domestic inequality. The monarchy faced pressures from nationalism, social change, and frustration over lingering British power. These tensions set the stage for one of the defining events of modern Egyptian history, the 1952 revolution, which ended the monarchy and moved Egypt toward republican rule. After the 1952 revolution, Egypt declared itself a republic and entered a new era of Arab nationalism and military-led politics. Egypt briefly merged with Syria between 1958 and 1961 to form the United Arab Republic, an ambitious attempt to create political unity in the Arab world. Although the union was short-lived, it reflected Egypt's enormous influence at the time. Egypt also became deeply involved in the Arab-Israeli conflict, fighting wars in 1948, 1956, 1967, and 1973. These conflicts shaped Egypt's military, politics, economy, and national identity. The 1967 war resulted in Israel occupying the Sinai Peninsula, a major shock for Egypt. The 1973 war then became central to Egypt's narrative of recovery and strategic leverage, eventually opening the path toward diplomacy. One of Egypt's most consequential modern decisions came in 1978 with the Camp David Accords. Through these agreements, Egypt recognized Israel, and Israel agreed to withdraw from the occupied Sinai. This made Egypt the first Arab country to formally make peace with Israel, dramatically changing Middle Eastern politics. For Egypt, regaining Sinai was a major national goal. But the agreement also carried costs, including tension with other Arab states and controversy inside the region. Still, the treaty reoriented Egypt's foreign policy and cemented its role as a key diplomatic actor. Since then, Egypt has often been central in regional mediation, especially because of its geography, military weight, and historic involvement with Gaza, Sinai, Israel, and the wider Arab world. In the 21st century, Egypt again entered a turbulent political chapter during the Arab Spring. In 2011, mass protests led to the overthrow of longtime President Hosni Mubarak. The uprising reflected public anger over corruption, economic hardship, police abuses, limited political freedoms, and decades of authoritarian rule. Egypt then held its first democratic presidential election in 2012, bringing Mohamed Morsi, aligned with the Muslim Brotherhood, to power. But his government was short-lived. After mass protests in 2013, the military removed him from office. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi later became president in 2014. Egypt today is formally a semi-presidential republic, but its current government is widely regarded as authoritarian, with strong limits on opposition, media, and political activism. Egypt's society is vast, young, and concentrated. The majority of Egyptians live along the Nile Valley and Delta, producing some of the world's most densely inhabited agricultural and urban corridors. Cairo, the capital and largest city, is the country's political, cultural, and economic center. It is a megacity where medieval streets, modern highways, universities, ministries, markets, and informal neighborhoods exist side by side. Alexandria, Egypt's second-largest city, remains an important hub of industry, tourism, and Mediterranean identity. Arabic is the official language, and Islam is the official religion, though Egypt's Coptic Christian community remains historically significant. The country's identity is layered: African, Arab, Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, Islamic, and deeply connected to an ancient past that still shapes tourism and national symbolism. Economically, Egypt is a developing country, but it also has the second-largest economy in Africa. Its strengths include population size, energy resources, tourism, agriculture, manufacturing, the Suez Canal, and a major regional market. Tourism remains especially tied to Egypt's global image, from the pyramids and Luxor's temples to Red Sea resorts and Alexandria's coast. But Egypt also faces serious challenges: population growth, inflation, unemployment, water pressure, debt, and the difficulty of providing housing and services at enormous scale. The Nile's future is especially sensitive because water security is tied to food, electricity, diplomacy, and daily life. Egypt's development story is therefore not simply about growth, it is about managing one of the world's most historically important societies under modern demographic and environmental pressure. Egypt remains a regional power because of where it is, how many people it has, and the historical weight it carries. It is a founding member of the United Nations, the Arab League, the African Union, the Non-Aligned Movement, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and it is also a member of BRICS. These memberships reflect Egypt's attempt to operate across multiple worlds: Arab, African, Islamic, Mediterranean, and global. Few countries combine ancient symbolic power with modern strategic geography in the same way. Egypt controls access to the Suez Canal, borders conflict zones, influences Arab politics, and remains central to debates over culture, religion, security, and development. Its story is not only the story of pyramids and pharaohs. It is the story of a civilization that became a state, a crossroads that became a power, and a river valley that continues to shape the lives of more than 100 million people. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.